Hello all, and welcome back to a new episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now we're reviewing The Sopranos, and today we're on episode 6 titled Pax Soprana. If you haven't watched this episode yet, this is your spoiler alert. We're now diving fully in. So Sarah, going to kick us off with an IMDb summary for the 6th episode.
Sure. Junior revels in newfound power and squeezes Hesh. Semicolon. Carmela and the capos chafe. Semicolon. Medication side effects drive Tony into fevered dreams and a risky crush on Dr. Melfi.
That's one way to put it, you know? Very classy, IMDb.
Right.
Well done. Okay, what's your episode title for the 6th episode?
My title is Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Lots of those needed.
There's a lot of sorries in this one.
My episode title is Augustus.
Yes. Honestly, I was impressed that Tony was just like dropping these names of these Caesars and just can keep them all straight. I did not do well in history. So I was like, Tony Soprano, you're teaching me some things here.
I loved it. It's so unexpected for this character. But I love that he's got these little surprises up his sleeve of things he's captivated by. I love that Junior is like, oh, but isn't that the one that got betrayed? No, that's the other one. And it's like, he knows his stuff. Okay, Tony. And I love that Junior's like, why did you tell it to me like that? Like, just tell me what you're trying to say.
Yeah, just shoot it straight.
Cow metaphor, because I can understand that one, says Junior.
Yeah, don't talk to me about Caesars. Give me cows.
Yeah. So let's dive in. Tell me some of your thoughts about this 6th episode of the season. It's kind of an interesting one.
It is an interesting one because we're back to, after we had this little detour where it was primarily Tony and Carmela in the previous episode, now we're back into this world and seeing some of these relational dynamics within the family. And I think it's really fascinating to watch Junior assert himself in ways that are honestly problematic and not healthy. And so I think that that's a really interesting piece of this, that even though he's in charge, he doesn't have that same like field of vision that somebody like Tony has. And we're starting to see a little bit of that. I'm still very interested in Livia. And I think it's very fascinating that both Junior and Tony are coming to her for input and advice. And so I have so many questions about her. And then of course we have everything that's going on with Tony and Dr. Melfi and that whole thing.
Business.
Wow. What a jam-packed episode. I feel like we have so many things going on and seeing just how busy everything is in Tony's orbit. And it's almost like, you can feel just like the stress and pressure on him, like from every sides. And you really feel that, I feel like, in this episode.
Yeah, I'm stressed for him. He's having to juggle so much. And he's not dealing with it quite in the ways that he needs to be. I think it's really fascinating to see Junior kind of fumble this first phase. I think that's significant. I think it makes Tony a more interesting character to follow because we can see his competence displayed more in the contrast of how he's analyzing the situation and the moves that need to be made, and kind of Junior's lack of ability to know how to do that well. Junior seems to be playing like a very short-sighted game here. And I love that Tony understands that that's not how you win loyalty. That's not how you win hearts and souls, which Tony is very good at. And so seeing Junior's style of leading this family and how different that is from Tony's, I think it makes Tony a more compelling character. And I think it makes Junior's inevitable downfall soon to come. And honestly, we love to watch a coup, like uh, seeing how the capos are coming together to say, like, this is not working for us and we are unhappy. And every, I think, great leader needs to figure out how to lead a team well and ensure your people are content and happy, that they're feeling taken care of. And Junior's kind of not interested and not even aware of that at all. So I loved that foil between these two men. And I think it makes my desire to see Tony's style of leadership grow over time. It's going to be in the nature of the show to delay that as much as possible because it's more interesting and you can tell many more stories. But what's Tony's version of running the DeMeo family going to look like?
Well, and I love that we also see in this episode something that we've touched on a little bit in a previous episode. I don't even remember which one now, but you're seeing just how strong those relationships Tony are.
Yeah.
He's so good relationally and socially, and he is trusted by people on like every side of the hierarchy,
And other
people.
families,
Yes,
New York
yeah, and
families. Yeah.
I love that you can see that in Tony, but you don't see that with Junior. And I think that that's another like fundamental difference in how they lead. Tony is so relational and he knows to invest in those relationships to build trust, but then to continue building trust. Like it's not just
Mm,
something that you establish once and it's done, but you continue to, cultivate that relationship. And so then you see how people are responding to Tony and they can't do that with Junior. And I
yeah.
love, to your point, that contrast between these two. I'm very excited for Junior's downfall, but I want them to delay it because this
Yeah.
contrast between the two of them is so interesting. And seeing Tony do all these maneuvers kind of behind Junior's back, and then they have to get together to figure out how they're going to position it to Junior so that they get what they want, but Junior doesn't know that they are manipulating him to get what they want. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
love all of that stuff. All the stuff with Hesh in this episode and them all having that meeting, the four of them talking about it. Ugh, I loved it
So good.
so much. And the
Yeah.
way that they all know the part that they have to play to keep Junior on their side, even though they don't agree with what he's doing. Like all of the politics and scheming of that, I love. And this episode really lets all of that shine.
Yes, yeah, it's really juicy and kind of building on the different ways that Tony chooses to build trust and build relationship. I loved that scene and kind of I could argue the mini arc of Tony looking out for Hesh. Hesh comes to him with a problem. Yo, your uncle's taken a big portion out of my pocket, and how the capos also come to him and they're like, yo, this dude's taking us so much money out of our pocket. And they land on this solution. So we see Tony problem solve. But it's the scene where Tony visits Hesh at his horse farm and he gives his share of his money that trickles down of Hesh's money that was paid to Junior that then is getting paid out to Tony to give it back to Hesh, which we know none of the other capos do. But I think that is also a significant, like, symbolic gesture of, I'm going to take care of you and I know that you're going to take care of me. So Tony's willing to give more, and that also means he's able to receive more too. And I love that fundamental truth and theorem of the universe is still present and still honored in their world as well. Like, they have intertwined themselves much more deeply, but that also means they can support each other and look out for each other and pull in favors when they need to. And it's not this calculated tit for tat, but it's a long-term bond that they have. And so Tony's I don't know if it's quite generosity, perhaps it's like calculated generosity, I think is significant in that scene.
Well, and I also love that Hesh knew that was what Tony was going to do. Like, Hesh wasn't surprised by it. Hesh was waiting for Tony to, whip out this wad of
Hand
cash
over.
to give back to him. And so I think that that also goes to your point of these two know each other so well. We don't
Mm.
know all of their backstory, but we know that there is a deep, rich history of trust and
Mm.
familiarity, and there's such a deep bond between them that Hesh knows what Tony is going to do
Yeah.
without like Tony even having to tell him. So I thought that that was it's a really cool moment to let us know a little bit more about Tony and how kind of
Mm.
he operates. But I love that it shows us more of their relationship, which is just it's so sweet. And I don't
Mhm.
know. I I don't expect to see such like tender relationships in a movie or in a show about the mafia, like
Yeah.
but we see that here with these two. Like they have a genuine care for each other. So I would love to see more of like that relationship and understand better kind of the role that Hesh has played in Tony's life, because it seems like he's
Mm.
been around for a long time and it seems to be a really important relationship for the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that moment and that side of Tony being shown of his loyalty is important for us as the viewers too, because we just watched Tony brutally murder and strangle a man in the previous episode out of loyalty too. So we get to see how his loyalty has driven him to commit some horrific acts, but it also comes from this deep bond and relationship with his people that when he commits to looking out for you, he's going to look out for you. And when you betray him, yeah, he's gonna come find you and stalk you in Maine, and maybe take you out and hunt you down. But it comes from this place of, no, but I trusted you and we looked out for each other and you went back on that. And so I think that's a significant, like, other side of the coin that is being shown in this episode right after a really brutal episode that we got to see Tony do some bad things in episode 5 too.
Which I also think is so interesting given how Junior is responding too, because Junior
Yeah.
doesn't have that same sense of loyalty. Neither does Livia, it seems like, because she was the one that kind of like incepted the idea into Junior in the first place. So it's so interesting that these two seem to be going against the principles of the family in a lot of ways. So I'm curious to see how that's going to shake out, because I mean, isn't like the number one thing loyalty? And Junior's
Yeah.
out here just being, not loyal to all these people, which is of course going to lead to his downfall because that's not good. But I think that just reinforces that contrast. If Junior had been in Tony's position in
Mm,
Maine, what would Junior have done? He
mm,
may have taken him out, but he may have done something else to try and enrich or benefit himself instead of
mhm.
looking out for the family. So I love that the contrast between these two characters is just continuing to widen, and we're seeing more distance between them the more episodes we get in.
Yeah. Yeah. I really wish we could see a more competent Junior. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of that as he feels more pressed. He's going to have to, out of survival, figure out how to scheme his way out of these situations. I thought the scene where they're outside of the meat market and they're having that whole negotiation, and it really is this theatrical performance that they're all doing. And Junior so clearly has no power at that table. I loved seeing Hesh like deliver his lines. He's like, yeah, like, obviously it would have been terrible for me to go to him first before coming to you, Junior, of course. And I'm like, there's no way Junior doesn't know what's happening here. You know what I mean? And so I hope that the show makes Junior greedy but competent, uh, instead of greedy and kind of weak and misguided. I just think it's like less interesting. Like, we need some meaningful counterbalance to Tony, and it would make. And you know what? Actually, maybe what it'll be is that Junior is incompetent, but it's Livia who's gonna be working through and scheming so that Junior has power and position, but it's not from his own thinking and problem solving. It's from Livia kind of pulling the strings in the background. And that's the real showdown, is actually it's Tony going against Livia through Junior.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm rooting for.
Likely. Yeah.
Because we've seen like the two big decisions that we've seen Junior, I guess we've seen Junior make 3 big decisions over the past couple of episodes: to take out Brendan, to kill the
Yeah.
drug dealer, and to tax Hesh. I feel like those are the 3 like big decisions we've seen Junior make. 2 out of the 3 were driven by Livia.
True.
So she has some power. She is scheming. She is pulling all of his strings. And I hope that that continues. And I hope that she continues to like make her mark and play such a prominent role in this show, because that's just fascinating to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. And why? I just want to know why. What does she, what? Because I think is it Junior who says to her, like, you're trying to get back at Tony for putting you in this place at the beginning of the episode. But I don't think that's all there is. Like, surely there is more that she's holding on to, that she's feeling frustration about in some way, or something that can't be it. So we're waiting to see what
Mm-hmm.
is driving Livia to make such drastic choices to kind of like go up against her son's growing power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other question that I have is, what what has her position in this family been like historically? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
she was talking about in the earlier episodes, her husband was a saint. Like, did she have that same level of influence? Was she able to call some shots? Like, was
yeah.
she manipulating her husband behind the scenes as he was running things? Like, I need to know everything about Livia. She's so interesting to me. So I'm hoping that the show shows us more of her, because everything we've seen so far has been just fascinating. And I'm greedy, so I would like more, please.
Yeah. And I don't know what her like long game is in this. Like if Junior was younger, I could understand, she's just trying to live out some glory days by like working through him for a while. But it can't be that. It's like kind of like the ancient queens that would like roll through their like brother or whatnot. Like, but they're both like, what does she want? Unclear to us yet, but yeah, we got some questions waiting to be answered. Okay, other big things that happen in this episode.
Yeah, we learn a little bit more about Carmela in this episode too.
Yeah,
um and how she is dealing with her big feelings and some big revelations that
yeah,
happened. But I did think it was really interesting in that conversation that she has with Father Phil, um, about how she wasn't threatened by, Tony sleeping around and all of these other women and everything, because she knew that she she was secure in her position. She was doing what she needed to do, and he was doing what he needed to do, but he would always come back to her. But feeling threatened by this therapist, and that understanding that like Dr. Melfi is able to give something to Tony that she can't. And that's why, part of why Carmela was acting out. And so just the fact that she was able to like identify that and then express that, I found that to be really interesting, because we've been wondering kind of about Carmela's position in this family, about her relationship with Tony and all of that. And so I feel like that provided just a little bit of insight into kind of how she is processing through their relationship and her own security in that marriage.
hmm yeah, yeah. And also explains why she's spending money to try to get his attention, all this kind of stuff too. It is admirable seeing her be able to articulate that so clearly, and they have this like moment of reconciliation at the end. But it feels thin. It feels like we're putting on a band-aid on something that's bigger, that's still festering. I I just wish that I would have, I just wanted to see this like schemy mafia wife, like calling some shots. Like I wanted to see younger Livia, but through Carmela. And so far, that does not seem to be the direction that the show is characterizing her in, which is fine. But I'm just mourning that older multiverse where we get to see the equivalent of Livia running this show, the way that Carmela could as well, or like jockeying for her place. She still is doing that, but it's coming from this place of being a lot more lost, being really empty, looking for purpose and meaning in this relationship, and it feeling unsatisfying, or it feeling threatened really easily, and kind of her immediate like instinctual responses and ways of coping, which I think are I don't know. Maybe we'll see how that character will continue to be written, but she has become a little less interesting than I was hoping that she would be at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. We'll see
We'll see.
how she progresses, cuz I I feel like there's so much more to her than what we've seen. So I hope that there is more there and she isn't just a wife and a mom, like, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But it would be cool to see her, like you said, like wielding some power and making some choices.
And maybe that's her arc, is that she
Mhm.
will come into that later, and only when she's now choosing not to ignore the dealings of the family can she then be part of the dealings of the family later. So perhaps that is the movement that her character is making, because leading up to this point it seems to be insinuated she just pretended it didn't exist and like kind of knew but tried not to think about it that much. But now that she sees the game being played around her, I hope she dives into the game, you know? I think that would be so fascinating and really fun to see too. um okay, other I mean, we have to talk about Tony's growing feelings for Dr. Melfi. I hated every bit of it, but
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
it is significant seeing the way that like Dr. Melfi's statement to him is kind of correct. Like he is finally having space to be heard, to be listened to have someone just like really be gentle and hold space for him, and that feels really comforting. That feels really safe, and so his quickness with confusing that with romantic love, I think, is also revealing for who Tony is as a character and how much he might not really understand himself at all. And just feeling finally loved in this way, he is confused. He's confusing that with his love for her by just wanting that feeling. And so I think it's this episode is more revealing to Tony's competency and understanding of so many social dynamics and emotional dynamics in the people around him, but his relationship with himself is really disconnected and really kind of whack because he can't identify and tease out those differing feelings from each other.
Yeah, I also hated that whole storyline. I was so uncomfortable the entire time. I was like, "Oh, make it stop." But the piece of the Tony Dr. Melfi thing in this episode that I really thought was interesting was when Tony asks her, like, "Why did you take me on as a client?" And I thought that was a great question and so telling, because I mean, she had to have known who he was and the kind of work that he does. And yet she didn't run away screaming. So why
No,
is that?
I
And
know.
I think it's really telling that the show, we don't get to see her answer. We don't get to see her response to that question. So I love that in the beginning of the episode, that's set up. And I'm still, after the episode is over, I'm still hung up on that question. So I'm hoping in, you know, the coming episodes that we learn a little
Mm,
bit more of why she made this choice, because she didn't have to put herself through this grief of, you know, treating a mafia don. So I'm so curious now. I'm like, thank you, The Sopranos, for planting that question in my brain. I'm not going to be able to let it go now. So they're going to have to answer it at some point.
yeah, yeah. There's so many more questions for how these characters are reacting to this situation that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Uh, but that's why we're leaning in. That's why we need to know. We need to find out what's happening here. Yeah, yeah. And I think also I wonder, just there's an introduction of much more prominence at the end of this episode of the FBI investigating this family, and how is that going to throw a wrench into all of the relationships on the game board that we know now? And surely something is happening here where someone is working with the feds. And so I think that's an interesting new introduction, knowing also too how much that's a sensitive spot for Tony and how much he cares about this. I'm like, oh, we're setting up some juicy drama because there's someone always watching, someone always listening, someone always playing both sides. And we as the viewers also don't know that yet. So I think that that presence feels like almost us being ushered into this next phase of the season. We've spent 6 episodes getting to know everybody, getting to know the power dynamics, getting to know the players. And that ending felt like, okay, now let's play ball. We've explained the rules of the game now. Let's play. So I think that's an interesting thing to see in the next episode, what they will do with that whole new variable that's going to come to the mix and change the loyalties and change the dynamics that have been established.
And it's so smart too, because the whole reason why Tony and the captains and everybody agreed to make Junior boss was to be the lightning rod. And so I love that we hear them
Yeah.
reference it in the conversation, and then at the end we see the feds. And so we know that it's on their mind as people in the family, but we are also able to see that it is a real threat. And it's really smart for them to position Junior in that spot because the feds are getting closer, potentially so much closer than Tony and everybody realize. So I also appreciate that it was episode 4, I think, at the funeral, you see the feds very obviously with this big old lens taking pictures of people coming to
Yeah.
the funeral. And then I love that in this episode, it's subtle, infiltrating as a waiter to this private party. So it's they cognitively know that the feds are after them because dude with a giant lens, of course the feds are close taking pictures.
Yeah.
But for the feds then to be able to sneak in and get so close to them, I think that's such a smart way to end this episode.
It's scary. Yes. Like our crew is not safe and they they don't seem to have the heightened awareness too of needing to do those checks and like have a more watchful eye. So I think their lack of awareness of what the feds are capable of and just how much they're able to infiltrate is um, there's a misalignment there. So we get to see them using the payphones to do all of the calls. There's previous conversations where they'll say, okay, cool. Well, let's talk about this later. Don't say too much right now. So they're aware of the wiretapping because that's what's been revealed to them as a method. But there's all of these other channels that they are unaware of too. And so, yeah, we will see what happens next on that front. That's going to be juicy. And I also think it's just like an interesting way to frame the central conflict of the show being around this family dynamic and their loyalties to each other, where the betrayals are to the feds versus families fighting against each other that are within the same kind of like organized crime world. You actually see them working together in this episode. So I think that's an interesting shift in the conflict and the axes of the conflict, which I'm sure there'll be some infighting very soon. But when there is this other dimension, it makes it much more complicated because who you can trust and who's going to sell you out feels like there's so many more threats that are around you than just my family and your family. But I can trust everyone in my family. It's like I can't trust anyone in my family, and I also can't trust that other family if we're fighting too. And that's why Tony stressed the heck out, Yeah. So
And
it'll be fun
I
to see.
love that we've seen a couple of episodes that are like really prominent moments about people ratting on the family. So in the
Oh
second
yeah.
episode when they're watching television and it's about somebody who ratted out somebody in the mafia, I don't remember who it was. And then in the previous episode, how Tony handled a rat. And so we've seen
Yeah.
what happens when somebody betrays the family. We see the feds infiltrating and know that they can't do that on their own. So I
Yeah.
love that these two separate pieces of information are setting up some potential infighting, conflict. We're going to see increased paranoia as they're trying to figure out who the rat is. Like, both of those pieces of information together, I think, are going to lead to some really explosive moments. And I am excited. I'm ready.
It's fun seeing paranoia because relationships are tested, truly. Like,
Yeah.
is Tony gonna suspect Hesh, or does he have enough confidence in that bond with Hesh, for example, that I know that you wouldn't ever do this to me because we go way back? But similarly, like, are other capos gonna suspect Tony? Like, every relationship is now pressure tested. Christopher, oh my gosh, he's a prime. If you're the feds, go after Christopher. Honestly, he's a great candidate for you. But how much confidence does Tony have in Christopher? How is Christopher, who may have been loyal, gonna feel hurt and slighted by the accusations? And like, how dare you think that I would do that and then eventually go do it anyway? All of those complicated dynamics are going to get pressed and stuff's going to come out. We're going to get to watch it all unfold. Uh, okay, cool. One other, I think, like, just cool, I guess that's the wrong word, interesting moment and choice of technique is that we revisit the same bridge that we saw the insurance company man be threatened to die from by being tossed over the side. And so the minute we see that bridge, I love that we know exactly what's about to happen and we get to see that murder actually happen on the bridge. But I think that whole scene feels more tense because we saw someone get threatened on that same bridge. We know it's about to happen, and it happens, and he goes kerplunk. And so I love the use of like these similar places and spaces again that have meaning and significance now. So that wide shot of the bridge, it's like, someone gonna die out there. And so that's neat to see the way the show use these places and the familiarity of them to take people out and add tension to scenes that could have just been like a drive-by gunshot, but they made that really tense.
I think it's also interesting that they do murder somebody at the bridge in this episode, whereas in the pilot they didn't. They just threatened the dude. And so
Yeah.
again, it's these different styles of Junior and Tony and how they're making decisions based on whatever criteria they're using, because Tony is thinking more like a businessman of like, hey, I can get you to do this and we can diversify our revenue streams, and this is great for business, whereas Junior is more out for blood. So I love that that same place is used in two different ways to once
Mm.
again highlight this contrast between these two different characters and how they're running their crew.
Yeah, yeah. And also perhaps the messiness of the way Junior does his dealings, or at least his men do the dealings. So they pay the crew of men that watched that happen, that were witnesses there. I don't know. They did not look like they paid them that much, and it didn't look like they secured and cleaned up those like loose ties or those potential like weak points for them. So I don't know if that's going to eventually come back to them of like someone ratted them out because they got paid a bigger sum from the government to like testify like, yeah, I saw these two dudes be taken in, and then some of Junior's men are getting taken out. So kind of the sloppiness of perhaps the way that Junior's men do their dealings, I think, is also like notable and different as well, versus we see Tony's men when they do their killings like fully take bodies to the waste management consultant, like they're in body bags, it's the dead of night, and this is kind of a different way to do things. I don't know. Maybe that's reading too much into it, but I remember thinking, I don't know if these people got paid enough to keep quiet. You
No,
need
and
to make
only one
sure
of them got
they
paid.
are quiet for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I kept like thinking that he was going to pay everybody, but he only
Yeah.
hands the one dude
Like
money.
100 maybe. Like he handed him like 1 bill. It did not look like a fat wad
Yeah,
of
it was
cash.
not
And
enough. Like,
no.
nope, buddy, I'm gonna take your money and I'm gonna rat on you because this is chump change. You shouldn't have been cheap with that.
Yeah, yeah. And he seems to like saunter off with the confidence that they're going to keep their mouth shut because they know who they
Yeah.
are. And I'm like, I don't. It's doggy dog world. They
Yeah.
might sell you out because they literally have no loyalty to you at all.
Yeah.
They're not part of your crew. They're part of their own crew.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other last things before we give out some awards?
The only other thing that I wanted to bring up is I think it's really interesting the similarities between Tony and Livia at in
Mm,
that people are coming to both of them for advice on things. And I just find that really interesting, because we see Tony, Hesh, the capos, everybody's coming to Tony for help. And then both Tony and Junior are going to Livia to bounce things off. And so I find that really interesting because Tony and Livia are very different personalities. They are very different people. And yet there's something in both of them that people are like, you know what? I need advice. I'm gonna go to them. And so I'm
that's
just
true. Yeah.
curious how, if the show is going to continue to like develop that kind of like that shared trait between them, and how Livia, for example, is going to use what she learns from Tony against him to benefit Junior. So I think it's really interesting that,
Mm,
like, Tony, we know can be trusted. When Hesh and them like come to him, we know that Tony is going to listen, he's going to think things through and like move methodically and try and get a good result for everybody. But we don't know that about Livia. And we don't know, to what we talked about
yeah.
earlier, we don't know what game she's playing. So, how much is that going to come back to bite Tony in the butt? Because he was honest with his mom. Like, you will need so much therapy after that happens, but it's going to make for some great TV.
And I wonder if that is also an interesting, like, I'm just imagining the graph in my mind because that's how my brain works of Tony's progress, which Dr. Melfi is acknowledging for him of like, you're starting to realize these things. So he is growing in himself personally, coming to terms with a lot of things. And how will that progress regress and be shot back down many notches because of something that's going to happen in his world? Betrayals in his world, betrayals from Livia, from people close to him, that's going to cause him to kind of spiral back to that place of being in a more unhealthy state too. So I'm like, we're making good progress, but as with any great like screenwriting and especially with TV, we constantly need to get knocked back and then grow a little bit more again and then get knocked back and then maybe really regress and spiral and hit rock bottom and then build ourselves back up again. And so I think that inevitable feeling of, oh, I think something's coming for Tony soon, which is unfortunate, is definitely looming over the course of this story arc. Okay, let's give out some TV Honest awards. So the first category is for family oriented. What is your choice for this character?
I would like to give it to actually a group of characters, and that is Hesh,
Oh,
Tony, and Johnny Sachs for letting Junior save face.
yeah,
Their whole
yeah.
little production they do around that table.
I loved that whole scene. It
Oh,
was
it's
so
so good.
funny. Yeah. And Junior's sitting there like basking in it, and everyone else
Hmm.
knows what's happening. He just kind of looks silly, and they're
Yeah.
delivering their lines, Oscar winning, award winning of performances.
Hmm.
Oh, that's great. It's really good. My choice for this one is Junior offering to donate money to the retirement home so that Livia can get better coffee.
Honestly, he's looking
Oh,
out. She's giving him advice. He wants her to have better coffee. It all
that is a
evens
thing
out.
that you drink every day. So the quality of life wise, this is an important one to make sure is delicious and fabulous. So he's looking out for her with his funds that he's now collecting from everybody else that is now mad at him. So
Yes.
that's that's where that's coming from. Okay, next category is most explosive moment. What is your choice for this one?
I want to give it to the moment when Junior's henchman, I think his name is Mikey, uh,
Yeah.
breaks into the poker game and beats that dude up. Like, I know he
So
doesn't
rough.
kill the guy, and we see a murder in this episode, but him beating up that dude was just so jarring to me. And then, of course, you learn, like, hey, this is a protected game. Like, what the hell? Like, you're not supposed to do this here. And he just keeps doing it. Like, woo, it's like a lot to watch, but then you learn that and the way that this kind of explodes throughout the episode and probably is setting up further feuds along the way. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
And I'm not sure like why Junior needs feels the need to like intervene in these areas. Like
Right.
my one my one explanation is when there's a new regime, they need to kind of have a show of power, a show of earning respect and uh, establishing discipline. You know, like they need to feel like you will yield to the new regime. But I don't know, like do it in another way. It's like you're just
Hmm.
stepping on toes. Maybe there's something more
Yeah.
that's gonna come from that. Like he's got beef with one of the guys that's running it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I read it as Junior is insecure. And so then he's having to like make a show of
yeah,
force basically. Cause like Tony handed it to him basically. And so if Junior
yeah,
was already feeling insecure and he's kind of gifted this, I don't know, that would probably just like eat away at you and like highlight those insecurities that you already have. So now he's just making bad decisions. So I don't know.
yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens
Oh,
with Junior.
Junior. Yeah, we thought Junior was going to be this like formidable foe, but I think it is becoming clear that Tony's real formidable foe is Livia. So we're here to see some of that. My choice for this one is Tony getting up and trying to kiss Dr. Melfi. Listen, we get so many dream sequences in this episode, right? So I was like, surely this is not happening. No, I think this is really happening. Oh my gosh, this escalated so quickly. So that's fascinating because we get the introduction of his like growing feelings for her, and I feel like they just spiral so fast. And so I could not believe my eyes, and I was in shock that this was not a dream sequence. This was real Tony in real Dr. Melfi's office. So I hated every bit of it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's some weird stuff happening
Yeah.
there.
Not great.
All right, double meaning dialogue, my favorite category of this season. What is your choice for this one?
My choice is when Tony is talking to Livia and he says about Junior's decision making, I hate to see him making bad moves.
Yeah, yeah. And Livy just
There's
looks
a
at
lot of
him.
subtext there.
Yeah, and she does not show her cards either. She's like,
No.
yeah, noted. Uh, my choice is when Junior and Livia are having their little afternoon coffee. This old dude comes rolling by. He goes, "New arrival?" At Junior. Keep it moving,
That's so
buddy.
I loved that. I want to see so much more of this like old folks home and like the other old people that live there. Like, can we just camp out there for a little while? Because the ones that we've met so far have been really funny. So I hope we
Hmm.
get more of those little moments of lightheartedness.
Yeah, yeah, they were fun. They were fun. But also, I mean, like, really great reminder that Junior's really up there, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and he's still trying to do this whole shebang, this whole business. So
Hmm.
it's great, great moment. Okay, looking ahead, what are you excited to see next?
Yeah. I think we touched on a lot of it.
We
Kind of
did.
like top of the list is Livia. What is going on there? I must know more about her. And then I really that question about why did Dr. Melfi take Tony on as a client? I must know the answer to that now. And then I would like more like Tony scheming around Junior, all of that business. Like, I don't want Junior to get his downfall too early. I would like for us to maybe like hang out in this space for a little bit
Mm,
before Junior, falls. Cause that has to happen. We can't have him in charge forever. But
yeah,
I hope that it's delayed so we get more Livia pulling the strings because that's
yeah,
just fascinating to me.
yeah, yeah. I think that'll be fun to see. Like, let him reign for a while through Livia as it's this like weird, gray, confusing landscape for everybody, and everyone can't really understand what's happening. But Just satisfying for us to see Livia call the shots too. Yeah, I think we touched on a lot of it. I'm excited to see Tony just continue to figure out like how to navigate this new world. I want to see what Livia does with the information that Tony's coming to her with. Yeah, there's a lot of story to be told. I really am curious to see, I guess this is my main one, is how will the FBI just wreak havoc in everybody's plans? I think that's going to be really fun to see because they have such clear, like, strategic investments, jobs to be done, projects, initiatives that they have to carry out, and they do it a certain way. But where will things go not according to plan? And I think that will be interesting to see the fallouts of those moments too. So the meddling from the government, I think, will be a great like stir of chaos for everybody. And when the job goes bad, who's going to suspect who? Who's going to be responsible when they don't know that there's kind of a mole in their midst? That's always really fun. I just basically want to watch The Departed, I think.
Honestly,
You know?
that movie is so good.
So good.
So if we get even like a taste of The Departed in this, it's going to be so satisfying. You said it earlier, we love a mole hunt. Like, let's go. We want to watch that.
I just want to watch like 6 seasons of The Departed in the world of Tony Soprano. Just give me more of what I love.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what they do because we have a lot of seasons left of The Sopranos. So I'm sure we'll have lots of juicy things to explore whenever we get to them.
Yep. Okay, well, this was our review and discussion of episode 6 of The Sopranos season 1. You can find it available to stream on HBO Max. Thank you for listening to today's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories, so everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you spent time with us today as we continue our journey through The Sopranos season 1. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your favorite Livia moment from this episode. You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at tvnspod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on TV and Us and our other podcast, Movies and Us. And by the way, we are on YouTube on video, so go check us out on YouTube at TVNSPod. All right, well, we will be back soon to talk about episode 7, which I think squarely leads us into this like middle, very, very middle of the entire season. So lots of stories yet to be told. We hope you have an amazing weekend. We'll talk again with y'all very soon.